We've all had bad days at work, but I promise you, your worst day doesn't even come close to the cosmic catastrophe we're about to discuss. This is the story of Detective Raymond Ray Dunning, a man who somehow convinced an entire police department that he was qualified to solve crimes. Spoiler alert, he was not. This is a story about how one man's aggressive commitment to being wrong about literally everything managed to turn a simple missing person case into an international incident involving a dead cat, a Swedish acrobat, and approximately $47,000 worth of confiscated cream cheese. I'm not making this up. I genuinely wish I was. Our story begins in the quaint town of Millbrook Heights. Population 23,000 heart. It's Tuesday, March 3rd, 2019, and Detective Ray Dunning has just been handed what should be the easiest case of his career. Margaret Holloway, a 67-year-old retired librarian, hasn't been seen in 3 days. Her neighbor called it in because Margaret's newspapers were piling up, and her cat, a massive orange tabby named Chairman Meow, was yowling at the window. Classic missing person setup, right? You check the hospitals. You call the relatives. You maybe find out she took an impromptu trip to visit her sister in Tampa. But Ray sees this and thinks, this is it. This is my television moment. This is my true detective season. Now let me paint you a picture of Detective Dunning. Ray is 42 years old, has been with the department for 8 years, and has somehow maintained a success rate that would make a coin flip look like expert analysis. He wears the same brown suit every day, not even a good brown. The first thing Ray does when he arrives at Margaret's house is bold. It's decisive. It's also completely insane. He looks at the pile of newspapers, 3 days worth, and declares to his partner, Officer Lisa Chen, this is a statement. She is trying to tell us something. Lisa, bless her heart, says, or she's just not here to bring them in? No, Ray says, picking up the newspapers and examining them like they're ancient scrolls. Look at the arrangement. Tuesday's paper is at a 45-degree angle. Wednesday's is perpendicular. Thursday's is... He pauses dramatically. Thursday's is perfectly parallel to the door. Ray, the newspaper delivery guy, just throws them. Does he though, Lisa? Does he? The newspaper delivery guy did, in fact, just throw them. So Ray, operating on the theory that newspapers have secret geometric messages, they don't, decides to interview the newspaper delivery person. This is actually not a terrible idea. Delivery people notice things. They see the neighborhood at weird hours. Good instinct, Ray. Except Ray doesn't just interview him, Ray interrogates him. The delivery guy is Brandon, a 19-year-old college student trying to make rent money. He's delivering papers at 5 a.m. in a beat-up Honda Civic with more duct tape than actual car. Ray brings him into the station, makes him sit in an interrogation room for 2 hours, and repeatedly asks him about his newspaper throwing pattern. Do you throw clockwise or counterclockwise? What? When you throw the papers, Brandon, the rotational direction. Do you even think about it? Sir, I'm just trying to not hit people's cars. Ray leans in close, does his signature narrow eye thing. That's exactly what someone who is trying to hit cars would say. Lisa, watching from outside, is dying inside. She's texting her husband, I'm working with a potato, a sentient potato who went to police academy. After 3 hours of this absolute nonsense, Ray finally lets Brandon go, but not before he's confiscated Brandon's phone for evidence, written up a report about suspicious throwing patterns, and somehow managed to convince himself that Brandon is a person of interest. The kid was just trying to pay for his community college textbooks. Now he needs a lawyer. Meanwhile, Margaret is still missing. You remember Margaret, right? The actual missing person? Ray has now spent 4 hours investigating a newspaper delivery guy and exactly 0 hours checking hospitals, calling relatives, or doing literally anything that would help find an elderly woman. But Ray's about to make his second brilliant deduction. He goes back to Margaret's house to survey the scene again, and he notices Chairman Meow, the cat, sitting in the window. He sees the cat, sitting there, being a cat, doing cat things, and he thinks, that cat knows something. Lisa tries to redirect him. Ray, maybe we should check Margaret's phone records, or, the cat, Lisa, look at the cat, he's watching us. Ray, that's what cats do. They watch things. They're judging us. It's their whole thing. But Ray is already in full detective mode, TM. He calls animal control. He has them bring a cat carrier. He is going to bring in the cat for questioning. I need you to understand. A fully grown detective with a badge and a gun is about to arrest a cat. Animal control is confused. Lisa is mortified. The neighbors are filming on their phones. And Ray is convinced he's about to crack this case wide open. They get the cat carrier up to the window. Ray is directing the operation like it's a hostage situation. Easy now, we don't know what he's capable of. Chairman Meow, who has seen some things in his 12 years on this earth but nothing quite like this, does what any reasonable cat would do. He absolutely loses it. We're talking full demon mode. Hissing, spitting, claws out, the works. In the chaos, Chairman Meow launches himself not into the carrier, but directly at Ray's face. Ray, screaming, stumbles backward off the porch, lands in Margaret's prized rose bushes, and in the process of flailing, accidentally kicks the animal control officer in the shin. The animal control officer drops the carrier. Chairman Meow escapes into the neighborhood. Ray is bleeding from 3 facial scratches. Lisa is on the phone with her therapist trying to book an emergency appointment. And somewhere, Margaret Holloway is still missing. You'd think after the cat incident, Ray might recalibrate. Maybe go back to basics, check some records, make some phone calls, think about things for even 5 consecutive seconds. Instead, Ray finds Margaret's computer. Now, here's what a normal detective would do. Check her emails, look at her browsing history, see if she bought any plane tickets or made any unusual purchases. Standard stuff. Ray opens her browser and sees that the last thing Margaret searched for was Swedish acrobatic performances near me. And Ray decides Margaret has been kidnapped by a Swedish acrobatic troupe. Lisa literally says the words, "Ray, no." Ray says, "Lisa, yes." Ray, she probably just wanted to see a Cirque du Soleil show or something. In Swedish, Lisa. In Swedish? Cirque du Soleil is French. And also, that's not, "Ray, please, I'm begging you." But Ray is already on the phone with ICE, with the FBI, with the Swedish embassy. He's filing reports about suspected international acrobatic kidnapping rings. He's creating PowerPoint presentations. He's drawing diagrams of human pyramids with Margaret's face photoshopped onto them. The Swedish embassy calls back, confused. "Sir, there's no Swedish acrobatic troupe in your area. There's a Swedish death metal band playing in town, but..." "Death metal?" Ray practically screams. "Lisa, did you hear that? Swedish? Death? Metal? This goes deeper than we thought." It doesn't go deeper. There is no depth. There is only Ray, digging laterally, in all the wrong directions, like a mole who failed geology. He somehow convinces his captain to let him stake out the venue where the Swedish death metal band is playing. The band is called Fjord of Screams. They're on a small US tour, and they're absolutely baffled when a detective shows up at their soundcheck, asking if they've seen an elderly American woman at any of their performances. The lead singer, a very nice guy named Magnus, is trying to explain that their demographic is mostly guys named Kyle who vape. But Ray is showing him Margaret's picture, asking about recruitment tactics and whether the death metal scene uses acrobatics as a cover. Magnus, who just wants to play his bass and go home. "Sir, we literally just play music. Very loud music. About Vikings." Ray, "Vikings are Swedish." Magnus, "Vikings were from all over Scandinavia, actually, and..." Ray, "Exactly." At this point, Ray's investigation has been going for 6 days. Margaret has been missing for 9 days. The actual police work has been done by literally everyone except Ray. Other officers have been checking hospitals, calling relatives, doing normal detective things. They've discovered that Margaret has a daughter in Oregon who hasn't heard from her, and they're getting worried. But Ray has just discovered something in Margaret's trash. 17 empty cream cheese containers. Now, you might think, okay, elderly lady, maybe she likes bagels, or maybe she had guests, or maybe she just really loves cream cheese and it's none of our business. These are all reasonable thoughts from reasonable people. Ray's thought, drug smuggling. Lisa doesn't even argue anymore. She's dead inside. She just watches as Ray takes all 17 cream cheese containers into evidence, writes up a report about suspicious cream cheese consumption patterns, and somehow, gets a warrant to raid the local grocery store's cream cheese supply. The grocery store manager is on the phone with corporate. "So there's a detective here who wants to confiscate all our cream cheese. All of it? Yes, I'm serious. No, I don't know why. He's saying something about the dairy aisle is a front. They confiscate $47,000 worth of cream cheese from 6 different stores. Ray has created a cream cheese shortage in Millbrook Heights. People are upset. There are news articles. A local bagel shop has to close for 3 days. The cream cheese contains cream, milk cultures, salt, and stabilizers. It does not contain drugs, smuggled goods, secret messages, or anything that would justify any of this. Ray's response when the lab results come back: that's exactly what they'd want us to think. So here's what actually happened to Margaret Holloway. While Ray was harassing newspaper delivery boys, traumatizing cats, confusing Swedish musicians, and waging war on dairy products, Officer Lisa Chen did some actual detective work. She called Margaret's daughter in Oregon. The daughter mentioned that Margaret had been talking about visiting her cousin in Arizona, but wasn't sure of the dates. Lisa called the cousin in Arizona. The cousin said, "Oh yes, Margaret's here. She's been here for 10 days. Didn't she tell anyone? She's been having such a good time. We've been hiking." And Margaret simply forgot to tell anyone she was going on vacation. That's it. That's the whole mystery. A woman in her late 60s went on a spontaneous trip to visit family and forgot to mention it to her neighbors. Her daughter thought she was still home. Her neighbors assumed she'd told her daughter. Classic communication mix-up. Chairman Meow was being fed by a timed automatic feeder, by the way. He was fine. He's still mad about the attempted arrest, but he's fine. So Ray solved exactly 0% of this case. In fact, he created several new cases: harassment of a newspaper delivery worker, assault with a feline, false reporting to federal agencies, the Great Cream Cheese Heist of 2019, international incident with the Swedish embassy, minor but still. The department had to issue formal apologies to Brandon the newspaper guy, the Swedish embassy, Fjord of Screams, who actually got some good press out of it, and literally every grocery store in a 15-mile radius. Margaret came home 2 days later, very confused about why there was police tape around her house and why she couldn't buy cream cheese anywhere in town. So what happened to Detective Ray Dunning? Well, he wasn't fired because, plot twist, this is America, and we don't fire incompetent people. We promote them into positions where they can do less damage. Ray was promoted to a desk job in the records department, where the only thing he can investigate is whether his stapler has enough staples. He's still there. He still wears the same brown suit. He still thinks he was onto something with the cream cheese. Lisa Chen got properly recognized for actually solving the case and is now a detective herself. She's good at it. She does normal things like follow logical leads and not raid grocery stores. Chairman Meow is in therapy. Kidding. He's a cat. He's fine. He knocked over a plant last Tuesday and felt nothing. And Margaret? Margaret got a cell phone with a big screen and a calendar app that sends notifications to her daughter. She also started telling at least 3 people whenever she goes anywhere, because apparently her vacation caused a federal incident. The moral of the story? Some people are so confidently wrong that they can turn a simple miscommunication into an international incident involving multiple government agencies and $47,000 worth of dairy products. If you've ever felt bad about screwing up at work, just remember, at least you didn't arrest a cat. See you next time for more stories of people who probably shouldn't have been trusted with responsibility, but were anyway. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe check on your elderly neighbors, just to make sure they're not accidentally causing diplomatic incidents.